I used to believe the system worked. Not perfectly, not always, but I believed that if you followed the rules, worked hard, and asked for help when you needed it, someone, somewhere would catch you before you fell too far. I believed in structure, in safety nets, in agencies and benefits and paperwork that all meant something. I believed in professionals and guidelines in fairness. And I believed naively that the system's job was to keep us safe. But I was wrong. And the cost of that illusion nearly destroyed my life. I was 19, just a kid, still figuring out what work really meant. I didn't want the job I was in. I didn't love the hours, the role, or the pressure, but I showed up. I did the work, and then one night, something happened that changed everything. I won't go into the details here, not because I've forgotten, but because the truth is too raw for this platform to handle. Let's just say there was a loud sound, a flash, a moment that should never have happened, a mistake that nearly ended a life, maybe even mine. From that moment on, I thought the system would step in. I thought someone would investigate, help me process it, help me recover. I thought there'd be protocols, support. Instead, I was handed a label and shoved into a process that I didn't even understand. They called it workman's comp. It sounded like help, but it wasn't. Here's what they don't tell you about systems like that. Once you're in, you don't decide when you're done. They do. They tell you when you've healed. They tell you when your benefits stop. They decide when you're fit to work again, even if your body or your mind knows otherwise. I was just waiting for the day they'd force me back so I could walk in and quit. That was my plan. I thought I was being smart. I thought I had some control. But I didn't. Because I never had an advocate. I never had anyone who truly understood the system standing beside me. And in a system like that, if you don't have the right language, the right paperwork, the right voice speaking on your behalf, you lose. And I did. If I'd had proper representation, if someone had stood up for me back then, I might have been receiving support to this day. I might have avoided years, decades of hardship. I might have never been homeless at all. But instead of care, I got containment. Instead of justice, I got a checklist. And instead of healing, I got handed a long, slow spiral into isolation. Years later, I met someone who did have the right help. He had physical injuries. His case was clean, documented, acceptable to the system. And because of that, he received support monthly for the rest of his life. Seeing that wasn't healing, it was salt in a wound. Because my injuries weren't visible. They were hidden in my memory, my nervous system, my reactions to noise and light and authority. No check boxes for that. And then I remembered what my grandfather told me. He was a World War II veteran, born before the New Deal. He came from a time when America was something different, when responsibility meant something personal, not a slogan, not a benefit package, a duty. He taught me the difference between a democracy and a republic. He taught me the meaning of the Constitution. But most of all, he taught me something I didn't understand until I lost everything. If I give you $1, he said, I own you until you give it back. And I remember saying, but Grandpa, I pay taxes. That's why I pay taxes. So when I need help, I can get it. He looked at me and said, that's when they own you. I didn't get it then, but now I do. See, the system doesn't want you to rise. It wants you just comfortable enough to not complain. The moment you start standing on your own 2 feet, it cuts you off. That happened to me in San Francisco. The moment I made $2 more than the minimum wage, just barely enough to consider renting a sliver of a room. They slashed my benefits, not because I was thriving, but because I was threatening to leave their net. The illusion is this: the system exists to help the poor. But what I've learned is that the poor are necessary to the system's survival. Without poverty, you can't justify scarcity. Without scarcity, you can't manipulate demand. And without dependence, you can't enforce control. That's the game. The benefits don't come with strings attached. They are the strings. Every tax credit, every voucher, every reduction or assistance program is a quiet contract. And the moment you step out of line, financially, politically, socially, they have the power to revoke what you never thought they'd take. This isn't just about shelters or workman's comp. It's not even just about being poor. It's about a society that pretends to offer support when what it really offers is leverage, a way to keep you compliant, a way to decide who deserves to breathe comfortably and who doesn't. And I know some people will hear this and think I'm bitter, that I'm ungrateful, that I'm angry, and I am a little bit, but not for the reasons you think. I'm angry because the system worked, for the people it was meant for. I'm angry because I carried guilt that didn't belong to me. I carried the weight of a moment that wasn't mine to bear. I told myself if I hadn't been lazy that day, the outcome would have been different. That I should have taken the bullet. That someone else almost paid the price for something I couldn't stop. And that I was somehow responsible. The system never held the real perpetrator accountable. But it sure made me carry the consequences. That's the illusion. Not just that help is real, but that accountability flows both ways. And right now, it doesn't. So here's what I believe now. If you need help, take it. Food stamps? Fine. That doesn't come with too many strings. But keep your eyes open, because the more help they offer, the more power they gain. Even tax breaks are benefits, even incentives. And when they want to punish you, those incentives become weapons. What was once a safety net becomes a leash. And if you don't know how to walk without it, you won't know how to fight when they tighten the grip. I don't say this to scare you. I say this because I've believed in the illusion for many years. And I want you to see it before you fall into the same trap. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as intended. And until you understand that, you'll keep trying to fix something that was never built to serve you. It was built to manage you, to contain you, to shape you into citizens that complies, not one who questions. So if you feel like the system is failing you, maybe it's not a failure. Maybe it's a design. And if you want the unfiltered version of this story, the parts I can't say here, I left that for you elsewhere. You know where to look. Stay sharp, stay independent, and most of all, stay awake, rebels. I'll see you in the next one.